So Shane, I'm so delighted that you've come to lecture on grace. And you are in this intentional community and you are out in the streets doing the work of justice and of ministry, of grace. I want to know, what are the moments of grace, or how do you see grace manifesting in the lives of the young people that you are working with?
Well, that's a great question, because I want to say that I've been a disciple of grace in my neighborhood. My neighbors have taught me hospitality and community. One of a really difficult moment in the life of our community was about 10 years into it, about a decade ago. We had a big fire and it burnt down a whole bunch of our neighborhood. It started in an abandoned factory and it burnt down a lot of our homes. So like 100 families were affected and many of our homes burnt down. And thankfully nobody was hurt, but the Red Cross set up a shelter because 100 families were displaced, and so we were setting up an emergency shelter, and then like they came back to us and they said, you got to hear this. Nobody ended up staying in the shelter because everybody in your neighborhood began opening up their homes to each other.
Wow.
One of my neighbors, saw folks on the sidewalk with their dogs and cats and said, I'll be the pet shelter, and another family started cooking for everybody. And our neighborhood came together, and we've rebuilt that entire block over the last 10 years, but I think that what I learned from that, it wasn't that surprising, because what I've learned is that neighborhoods that are economically poor are often community rich, because it's how people have survived. And neighborhoods that are economically rich are often community poor. So I've learned that lesson over and over and over from the kids, from my neighbors. Even after that fire, one of these sensational reporters came, and this guy's house had burnt down almost, his family's sitting there, and they said, how does it feel? His response was brilliant. He said, oh, God is good. And he said, we've got each other. Nobody got hurt. We're going to rebuild our neighborhood. And then he said, and since that factory burnt down, I noticed you can see the moon from our block. So we painted this mural with a building burning down and everybody looking at the moon, And I think that's what Jesus is saying when he's saying, don't put your hope or your treasure in the stuff of this world that moths can destroy and thieves can steal and fires can burn up. But and so there's this resilience. One of my neighbors, when the stocks were flailing on Wall Street, he said, oh, no matter what happens on Wall Street, God is still good. And he said, and our people have been in a recession for a few hundred years. So we know we can survive, And our hope isn't in Wall Street. Our hope is in Jesus. And I think that is the kind of resilience that comes from neighborhoods and from people who have struggled and realize that our hope is, we get hope also by looking back at what people have survived. And I think that's maybe why God over and over says, remember this, I am the God who delivered you.